In this video, we're going to look at the top 6 issues of getting the ERC credit. It's really, Debbie, it's how do I get my money? You know, when I stopped to think about it, we did a video where that we said if you paid somebody $40,000 of qualified wages from a qualified business, they could get a $28,000 up to a $28,000 credit. And we did a video that we talked about 10,000 part-time, they could get 7,000 of that back. But since we've gone through all these videos and kind of put them on a link out there, what we decided to do in this video is look at the top 6 issues and what's the pain points, because we're finding we're getting a lot of phone calls. We're actually doing a lot of 941Xs and 7200. So Debbie, we've got 6 here, and 3 of them are kind of general, and then 3 of them are actually filing the return. So why don't you let's introduce us to our first issue.
So the first thing is, when we get phone calls from people, one of the things that we are hearing is that their professional that they work with already on a normal basis with their payroll, they aren't aware of the ERC.
And that's if that local accounting firm is doing it. But in the case of like the big payroll companies, unless you tell them the number,
right, they're not willing to do the 941X for you. They might help you provide the reports, but they're not willing to do it for you.
So what we're running into, I know that early on a few months ago, I was getting a lot of consultation calls. And in doing that, what we found out is by the time I helped them through, because this is a brand new process, whether it's your local accountant or whether it's the person working in the small business doing the payroll. We had one woman, she said she'd spent a couple hundred hours on this, and she's just finally told her boss that it'd be easier to have them do it than to do it. But the big key about it was that you kind of get caught, and that's what we're finding. Most of our referrals are people that either do their own payroll or they go to somebody that does payroll, and they don't understand all the ins and outs of the ERC. I can tell you, we've had, 4 different 941s over the last year. We got the 7200 floating out there. So it's the fact that if I'm in the tax business and I'm doing payroll to help you out, they don't have the time to, or they'll never make a profit, because next year it's over with. So the knowledge base is where we're seeing a lot of people getting caught because they don't realize $40,000 in payroll in 2021. If it's a qualified employee, and again, I'm repeating myself, on qualified wages, guess what? I get $28,000 back of that 40. What's this worth? And so I think that's important. And I think we've kind of mentioned what we're running to in the second one I actually did, so I'll take it, is how much time's being spent. And what you have to realize is that, when you do a second quarter ERC, or you got first quarter ERC, almost everybody has it. Everybody we've looked at's had it. Well, in order to get it from the first quarter, you got to file the second quarter 941X. Makes no sense. Then if you do a third quarter, it's a different 941 than it was for the second quarter, which was different than the first quarter. So I'm not here to confuse, but I'm here to say that what we're finding, I really believe, and I saw a report the other day, there's billions of dollars of this credit being missed because it's just kind of fallen in between, the small business, and non-for-profits. And because that was a law change difference between 2020 and 2021. So really what we've kind of figured out is we just kind of say, we got this kind of methodology that we figure out, pandemic, did you qualify, etc. And Debbie, you want to kind of wrap the third one on the payroll services?
Yeah, like we mentioned a little bit, your bigger payroll service companies are not willing to do the amended 941s for you, or really even guide you in the way to do it. So those that have the bigger payrolls that are using these large services, these nationwide services, they're coming and looking for information on how they can do it on their own, or get information from us if we'll do it for them. So it's really handicapping some of these bigger companies that could get a lot of money.
Well, and kind of to summarize the first 3 of the 6 issues in getting this unbelievable credit, is, again, it happened very quick. The law keeps changing almost quarterly. The forms keep changing, and it's also very complex. And then when at the end of last year, 2020 in December, they say, prior to that, you couldn't have ERC and PPP. And in the last month of the year, you go, oh no, you can look back and you can get both and that integration in between it. And that's where we really get to the running, what we call running the basis. So the last three is really, and we have done a video, we've done several videos on running the basis. So what we're going to do, we don't have an overhead camera, but I think it's important, just visualize, we're at home plate. Home plate says, and let's just take that, we got somebody we're paying wages to, and I want the credit, and I'm a newbie. I don't know anything about this. I've heard about it on TV. I've heard about it. I've went to my accountant. I've talked to my payroll service, and they're all going like, yeah, we know about it, but Debbie, help me run the basis.
So our first thing that we have to look at when we're running the basis is, does your company qualify for the ERC?
And so in that case, what you're saying, and we did this in other videos that you can go and see, but at first base, the big takeaway there is that you've got two sets of rules. You got 2020 and 2021. Now in 2020, but whether it was at the end of the year or whatever, you now can have PPP and you can have ERC. But that definition and that threshold, for example, 50% of 10,000 qualified wages, well, at first it's a qualified business. Well, a qualified business for 2020 may be different than 2021. Or we're finding out at one point in time they may qualify under a shutdown,
right?
Or they qualify under the second rule, they qualify because of gross receipt rule. So first base is really, am I a qualified business? The rules are not the same for 2020 and 2021. See how this is so confusing. But we've done videos at each one of these bases.
Right.
So let's run the second.
So then if you do qualify, then we have to figure out what wages qualify for the ERC. So when we talk about that, it's different types of wages, plus you have to factor in if you got the PPP. Because if you got the PPP, we have to separate out the wages that went underneath the PPP because those don't qualify. So it takes a little bit of maneuvering through payroll reports, asking for different timelines of payroll reports, and really digging in and seeing what wages do qualify.
So if you watch our video at second base that we actually did, again, we come back to this same thing at first base. We have on one side 2020, on the other side we have 2021, two different sets of rules. So on one side, we've got, and then actually we have another video where we draw a timeline that goes from March 12th, starting there, that's when this all started happening, all the way through, because ERC, remember, goes all the way through the end of 2021. And again, that's 70% of 10,000 qualified wages per employee. I said that fast. Now think about one employee that you paid $10,000 during a period, and you're a qualified business at first, and you're at second base, and you pull out any PPP wages. And we do a timeline on that, and you literally, and that's what we have to do when we actually do amended returns for the prior year. But what you do is you go through and say these are qualified wages. We have to watch if somebody went over 100,000, because at that point in time, that's on the PPP side. All of a sudden, we have qualified wages. Whenever nobody else's wages are qualified. So again, I'm gonna say what I said before we started running the basis. This is confusing. And I think what's happening is that, you know, the larger consulting we're doing, I'm consulting with them so much, you know, by the hour. But the smaller ones are just saying, hey, ask us the questions of what we need to do. So again, you got 2020 and 2021, you got different percentages, 50 and 70, quarterly and annually, and what is actually the definition of qualified wages. So now we've sorted out from the PPP and the definition, and we're going to take those qualified wages, that Excel spreadsheet we do, and we're going to run down to third base. You want to take third?
So a third is just getting it on the right forms.
Right.
Like, where does it need to go? We did this back in another video, so if you can reference back to that. But that's basically, so if you're still in a certain quarter, then you can choose to file a 7200 or wait and claim it on your current 941. But what we're seeing at this time is a lot of people that are coming to us, they're looking to get this credit back for 2020 and for what's already happened in 2021. So at that point, the 7200 is gone because that current quarter is closed. So at that point, we're looking at a 941X that has to be filed to claim your refund.
And I think, if I might I want to reiterate, because of the number of calls we're getting on the 7200. The 7200 you can only get in their current quarter. So we're now in July. All right, you can use the 7200 for third quarter of 2021 from here forth. And then once you get to the end of the filing period for the third quarter, you can only use the 7,200 for the fourth quarter. So we've been doing 7,200s for over a year here. They've been working, but again, people are trying to go back. So yeah, if you'll watch our videos, what you'll find out is that third base is taking those because we're qualified business at first. At second, we figured out the qualified wages. At third, we're going to do the worksheets according to which period it is to get the right amended 941X. We're going to file that. And again, like I said, if we're going back to file a 2020 first quarter ERC, we actually file it when we file the second quarter 941X on the ERC. And you see Debbie here is kind of confusing. Yeah, Debbie has to blink and think. And if I can, her with 20 years experience as a CPA, it's called, and you're in this trench every day of the week, you literally have to stop and think. So what we've done here, I guess in a recap, is we've looked at the top 6 issues that we're seeing from the real world. This is not, this is not fluff or whatever. This is actually based on live consultations by me. It's based on you doing live 941X's 7200. Yeah, and so kind of in conclusion, I hope, I normally say I hope this helps, touch that red button and let's share. But I want to tell you the reports that I'm seeing coming out of Washington, D.C., there are literally billions of dollars being missed here. So if nothing outside this video, I hope we spread the word and some small businesses gets the help they need. So thank you, stay tuned, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.